Thank you. Artie and Jay, this next question is for you. You mentioned parks, and you talked about your walking trails. Some of our youth facilities have probably exceeded their expected life. The baseball fields, softball fields, the youth football fields, the soccer fields. Has there been any thought of any more investment in our youth recreation facilities to continue to try to keep our kids locally involved as opposed to having to go north for those?
You mean like a rec director? Hiring a rec director?
It doesn't say. It's just a question about those facilities.
Okay, that's something I think that we had talked about at one time, but adding staff isn't where we're at. And I understand that our facilities, some of them are aging, and we do need new ones, and hopefully we can work together with the school district to provide some of those updated facilities. I agree, I'd like to see more of our kids that now go out of the community to play softball or baseball particularly, to be able to come back here and play. And I think that for the size of the community and the investment, we do get a lot of ball games down here and have a lot of tournaments that bring a lot of people into the community, and we have a very good volunteer organization that handles that. We're very fortunate to have them. But I do understand some of our facilities are getting a little past their age. And also the pool, we've looked at perhaps working about doing some upgrades on that and updating it too. We have some water parks around us, and I don't think we're looking at a water park, but I do know that some of our water things down here at the pool do need to be upgraded.
And I would just pretty much echo what Artie said. I think moving forward, it will be essential for the city and the school district to work very closely, especially since the school district is looking at some of those facilities. I think one thing that people do forget, though, and I need to kind of clarify this a little bit, the city really does not own a lot of ball diamonds in this community. The ball diamonds in Wallace Park, the majority of those are not owned by the city. The two Legion diamonds are owned by the American Legion. They're not owned by the city. They're not owned by the school district. Julie Silver Field, technically speaking, even though we own part of the property, we don't own all the property that that field's on. And so sometimes that's forgotten in the whole process. So we need to be, as we look at those, we need to look at what the future of those are going to be, realizing that some of the organizations that are involved in that, financially they're just as constrained as everyone else in trying to keep these facilities up. The city makes a significant investment every year in the Legion Diamonds and the various fields in Wallace Park. Even though we don't own those properties, we pay for the lighting, we pay for the irrigation, we pay for a lot of the maintenance on those fields, and spend anywhere between $60,000 and $70,000 a year just on our maintenance side of those fields that don't even belong to the city. So we think going forward, it's going to be very, very essential for us to work with the school district on that and work with the various organizations that do own some of those facilities and run some of those operations as to what direction things are going to go.
Thank you. Judy, that leads into one of the other questions that we had, and it was concerning field turf and some of the facilities that we're looking at through the school district of improving that way. And Jay kind of perfectly handed that off to you in regards to, I sat in the presentation that they had in regards to that and the cost savings that field turf can present, but it's not just in the cost I mean, it's expensive to do, but I think the usage was what you all pointed out in the meeting. Can you kind of touch on that for everybody?
I want to go back to Artie and Jay's original question, though, and that pertained to those ball fields. Even if we build ball fields, you still have ball fields there. You would have ball fields on us. It would allow opportunities for maybe some of those teams to come back. I'm not sure. All the logistics details haven't been worked out on that because that's all in planning stages right now. Jay and I haven't had time to have a lot of conversations related to that, but I've lived in this community for quite some time, and I think 3 different times that I have been here, a joint rec commission thought has came up, and it's probably time to have that conversation again. Now, whether this community wants that yet or not, I don't know, but usually what happens there is you have a joint commission of city representation, school representation. You use the school district's territory, and it's typically ran by money that is a mill for that territory, and then it's managed by us, but it's the joint people that manage that commission as well. So that's probably something that we're going to have some conversations about. As far as the turf, I'm looking to see if I brought any of those numbers with me, and I did not. When the athletic director spoke to us the other night at the board work session, what his emphasis was, I can't come to you and say that artificial turf will ever be cheaper right now in today's world. Maybe in the future it will be, but not right now today, than natural grass. I can say that Jay just told you what it takes to upkeep and maintain the fields down at the park. You have a lot of expenses in that football field. What happens with the football field with natural grass is they don't want the grass messed up when it's rainy, when they have special games. So that means that sometimes even the band for a performance isn't down on that grass the morning of the performance practicing, but they're performing in another spot. With artificial turf, you can use that field much, much more. You can have your band practicing whenever they need to on there, whether it's muddy or not. You can play soccer on there. We would set it up so that soccer could be played on there. Soccer's becoming a big deal, has been in this community. I see John over there. You know, he has been a big supporter and founder of the soccer group. Originally, the athletic director said that with grass, that field's only used about 66 hours. He's estimating, and he's put a lot of things on there that the grass could be used for, but he's estimating that you can increase that up to over 1,000 hours, maybe as far as 1,500 hours of usage of that field. If you look at the expense of that, natural gas, the expenses that it costs us to maintain that is about then $400 an hour. If you're using it extensively all the time, then your use per hour is $25 per hour. Now, it's not cheaper, but you're getting to use it a lot more. So that's the answer to, I hope your answer to your question on the turf.
Thank you. And while you had the microphone, the next question would go to you as well. I know one of the things that was included in, or is being thought to be included in the bond issue has to do with vocational education and some of the expansions of those programs. Can you maybe expand a little bit on what we're doing now, what offers those, and maybe some of the other things that you're thinking about adding?
When we talk about career pathways, because Mike mentioned that times this morning, so you've heard the word career pathways. What career pathways mean is, think back when you were in school and you were taking courses, you were taking welding, or you were taking an ag course of something, you were taking some kind of business course, you may take a cooking course, you may take a clothing course. Well, now we don't have those. We have those courses, but they're not individual courses. We don't do much with cooking anymore unless it's a culinary arts pathway. We don't do much with sewing anymore. What used to be what you called home ec is now called FACS, Family and Consumer Science, and it's in pathways in the sense of her pathways might be child development, it might be a teacher mentoring program, and so there's several courses that are in a lineup that a path. And then when you're done with that, you have some extensive training in one specific area. Welding, you don't really take one welding class. You can, but if you want the pathway of that, you're going to take 3 or 4 welding classes. So that's how our vocational programs are set up. Business is the same thing, whether it's web design or accounting. There's several courses, and then by the time you get done with high school, you have a pretty good skill. Okay. Community colleges and high schools are looking at lots of different kinds of pathways. We want as many pathways as we possibly can for our students when they graduate, particularly for 21st century skills. We need college graduates, but we also need technical trained people that either are ready to go to work when they graduate from high school, or with a couple more years of training, they're ready to go to work. We have had extensive conversations with Janet McRae. She works with us constantly. We've had conversations with Neosho County, conversations with Fort Scott, lots of conversations with Fort Scott. Pat Apple has a meeting set up next month for all 3 Miami County schools to meet with Johnson County President. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about career and tech ed. We will continue those conversations. Those conversations will never quit. We have a building at Hillsdale. I can't make any promises right now what would happen with our building, but I can say we have space in our district if we have the funding, we have the passion, we have the vision. We don't have the funding yet between Fort Scott and us to be able to put some of those things in place. But back to the original question about the bond, some things that have came up have been a couple of things related to vocational training. But again, the board is going to have some conversations Monday night to see if we add some of those things, or if we wait until we get this shored down a little bit tighter with Fort Scott so we can do some collaboration. The collaboration is important because we have young adults that need trained as well as kids in high school. We do sponsor the adult ed program for Miami County. We also go into Anderson County with that program. We sponsor the one at Osawatomie, and last year we had 42 young adults that finished their GED. So in collaboration with the work that Rob's doing with Kansas Works, what we're doing at our adult ed program, our collaboration with Fort Scott, we're really trying to meet the needs of not only the K-12 students, but also the young adults as well.